Perhaps everybody permission to record?
Yeah, I will for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good
I
day.
think, I think we're on meeting number 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. Congratulations. Double digits.
Yeah, and our rooms have kind of gone down in numbers, but I see it directly related to how much effort I put in the day and the day before and today on reaching out just in Telegram and just reminding people. So partially my fault, the room's kind of small because I didn't do my usual shout out to everybody, but yeah, it'll be nice and intimate. We've got one room, we'll just stick in here maybe. Any volunteers on moderating our consensus? All right, we got Jason. Thank you so much. Love it.
Happy to. And if we're jumping right in, then I might as well get right to it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Dwayne's a little tucked out, so I'm not going to give it to Dwayne first to do the introduction. But our timeline for today, just to clear the air before we start, is everybody in objection to ranking ourselves in the place where we feel that we should be ranked, and also time. Anyone want to be a timer? And how much time do we have for this? People have a hard stop coming up, top of the hour or not? So
I do have a hard stop coming up in an hour. I have a lot of work to do today.
Okay, so we got to keep it to under 45 minutes. So we've got 6 of us here, and let's do 3 minutes each for introductions. And that's this.
Sounds good. Yeah, and just to be clear, my hard stop isn't like totally hard. Like I can go a few minutes over, but I just can't go for too long.
Okay. Sounds good. And with that, since it's warmed up, I'll ask Dan to introduce himself first.
Okay, sounds good. I'm not super ready because I actually didn't. I saw my green screen behind me. So maybe if Marco would like to go first.
Right, yeah, no, I'm just doing these off the top of my head because I do a lot of same stuff during the week, and the new stuff is pretty I don't know, it's a little standardized as well. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right, so the weekly newsletter, everybody probably knows, and that's a year in the making coordination of the histories of it all, of how it comes together. And there's essentially really 3 briefings within that newsletter. One is the overall EOS and ecosystem. We just got so packed with information on EOS that it rarely branches out to other chains. So I kind of use the coalition as an excuse to reach out to sister chains. And then the other 2 briefings are really what's going on in Eden and what's going on in ƒractal. And of course, Eden and ƒractal are now overlapping, but some people don't like them both. So that's noted in there when it arises. Alien Worlds is identified in itself within the ƒractal briefing. And that goes into what I've really been promoting, what I've been doing, in that it's joining each ƒractal and identifying what's new across them and any issues arising between them. And this week it's been BitShares really that's looking to integrate other ƒractals. It's looking to connect with all of them. And I mentioned how BitShares and Alien Worlds are probably Alien Worlds is probably the closest to BitShares. And if we look at it, it seems that Eden is the closest to the Genesis fractally, maybe just in membership or however it turns out. But when it comes to BitShares, it looks like BitShares is actually looking to develop with Alien Worlds. Blacks has been mentioned time and again. I know there's an NFT guy there who's developing a BitShare specific NFT for Fractally to be Fractally NFTs to be distributed throughout the network. and he's mentioned wax before. I don't know how a committee was because he wasn't there last week. But anyway, we finally formed a team, and I highlighted it in the last Eden Fractal how if you're interested in wax or bit shares, to check that out. And again, the key might be alien worlds. I mentioned the DAOs and things like that. BitShares is an exchange, and I will bring it up because the exchange is looking to see how it can be applied to not just BitShares, but fractal in general. So I don't know if the team is looking to integrate with the UI. Seems likely, but their two focuses are exchanging tokens and an NFT platform that coincides with fractal. Well, anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that for that. Well, anyway, I mentioned with team where as far as the
Right.
team,
Sorry, Marco, that's 3 minutes.
I'm gonna let it go right there. The new team has 3 members. We're still looking for one more. Sorry about that. I just
No, that's okay. Eric actually put his timer up on the screen. And no, that's pretty excellent. And
pass it off to Dan.
sorry,
Oh.
I'll pass it off to Dan.
Dan.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for all the great work in the research and updates with BitShares and everything that you're doing, Mark. Much appreciated. And also thanks for stepping in when my presentation wasn't ready. So I'll share a presentation mostly about, I kind of made this presentation for yesterday with Eden Fractal, but it's pretty similar. So I've been working a little bit on Eden Creator's website. I just fixed like the visuals and stuff a little bit because it was messing up. 2 weeks ago or so, I put edencreators.com/alienworldsfractal, where I've been just collecting some information about it and curating and so forth. One thing that I'm going to add to it this week, I haven't done anything specifically this week, but I'll add an interview that I co-hosted with Patrick, with Dwayne. Dwayne gave awesome speeches and answers about the Alien Worlds Fractal and why he's so passionate about governance and so forth. So I co-hosted that. Patrick was generous to invite me to do it. And then we also talked about the EOS Translation Foundation, and you can see timestamps here where you can find out all the different things that we talked about. And then in addition to the interview with Dwayne, I also was on an interview with Patrick about Eden Fractal and co-hosted an interview on the EOS workshop with Tadas, who's writing Albedo, and then also talked with a bunch of other people. But yeah, the interview with Tadas was really good. It's a way that fractal communities can empower and help like older blockchains with plutocratic governance. And so it's really interesting. He wrote a great white paper and a great article that I was studying quite a bit over the past week about Albedo. You can learn more. And then, yeah, I shared a bunch of updates about Eden Fractal. And of course, you can also see the timestamps to see all the different things we talked about. We probably mentioned Alien Worlds Fractal, but there too. And then mostly I've been working a lot this week on the Eden Fractal. So fix up the site a bit, put out the tweets to show the distribution of tokens. And then I also just shared it in a bunch of channels as well to help promote it. Hosted the meeting 11, put the videos up for the past weeks, and I've been working on a big campaign and a new kind of like almost a social media site or something, and like a community blog site where people can post things that they're doing. I think this could be helpful for Alien Worlds Fractal, like a place where people can post their contributions and so forth, and then people can see it all together. So I've been doing that along with a, this is just a draft page, but it's along with like a kind of a proposal for funding for the Eden Fractal from the ENF. So I think that kind of thing would be helpful for a lot of fractals. And then I also proposed the interim consensus process for the Genesis Fractal this week, where we can have it, where we can arrive at consensus and so forth. This is all up on edencreators.com. I think this is probably helpful for Alien Worlds Fractal at some point. And I just answered questions and I wrote a lot this week. Most of it I haven't been shared yet, but I wrote a lot basically for fractals and so forth. And then this stuff is probably more EOS. But then I also participated in the Helios Twitter space, talked about Antelope and decentralized governance quite a bit. And then I also read and kept up with some great papers and so forth by James Smart, and just did some learning and promoting fractal governance. And 2, 1, that's it. Thanks, everybody. What's that, Jason?
I said great share.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If anybody would like to go next, then please let it be known. Otherwise, I will nominate, I think, June to go next.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Hey, so yeah, I think I know everybody here, so that's cool. So this week, I guess, just contributed to more of the fractally, I guess, effort with a couple, one blog post and a couple summaries of More Equal Animals. For Alien Worlds, I am submitting a grant under Galactic Hubs. I will be talking to someone today, but we just filled out a few forms. I think, Dwayne, you probably had the similar thing where you had to fill out some forms. So just did that for D-Board, which is a organization tool to make organizing efficient so people can discuss, strategize, debate, vote, amend, iterate on ideas and proposals, and then vote. So it's similar to worker proposal system. So we raised money from Pomelo and also getting this grant from Alien World. So excited about that. And that's pretty much it. Just those few things. Thank you. And yeah, I guess who should we go to next? I don't know, Eric, the timer. So maybe Dwayne.
I think June, I don't know if I just missed it, but didn't you post like a few more articles on the ƒractal site too about like summaries from recent ƒractal experiences and stuff?
Yeah, but that was mainly since I didn't post it on ƒractal, it was just a lot of the past content since up to chapter, I think 5 on More Equal Animals. So I just posted all the older ones. And then the blog is up to blog number 5. So I just posted all the past ones as well. So but I only just wrote 1 and 2 summaries this past week. So
okay, cool. Well, thanks. That whole thing, when you look at it, looks awesome. I've only had the chance to read here and there, but it looks like it's very well organized. And I also enjoyed reading the part summaries from Alien Worlds ƒractal and so forth.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It's really nice. This is like a very articulated, well-spoken, well-tempered like group. You know what I mean? So if I was to join a group to like share stuff, like this is kind of like the prime group. So I realize it's a small group, but I just appreciate how, everyone's intellect, everyone here is bringing something valuable. So I enjoy all you and really appreciate all your contributions and attending. Been distracted. I've been doing a different kind of consensus, old brick and mortar business of partners that trying to come together. So I've been a little bit distracted, but I had been able to accomplish. Last week I was a few weeks behind in just getting all the distributions out. So I've caught up. I'm just a week behind, and I've set some time today to finish that. So I'm kind of excited. It's always stressful when you get behind on some work that you're supposed to be doing, right? So yeah, that's going to be eating at me. I'm finally getting a little bit caught up. I have been able to squeak in that interview with Dan and Patrick. And once again, just really nice to be in a safe space where you're comfortable with the people, where you can just really share, honestly. So I think that was a really good interview. We were all in a good mood, had a lot of fun. Tomorrow, I have an interview with Alien Worlds around the grant. So I'll be talking about that. And then I have booked in a few people that are going for counselor members in Alien Worlds for their elections. So not next week, but the week following, we'll start interviewing those people. And hopefully that'll bring some attention to our group and bring some more people over. I am out of my pocket reimbursing Vlad. He asked for a very nominal amount. He asked for 20,000 trillium for making his tool available for us. And I thought that was really fair. So that's one contribution I've done, is just taking some trillium out of my pocket. And then I guess it's worthy to mention, I know that Dan Larimer mentions it in his meetups, that he's paying for a bunch of stuff. I'm not paying for a bunch of developers or anything like in the scale of Dan Larimer, don't get me wrong, but up to now we have distributed about 22,000 trillium. So about $600. And yeah, so I've sponsored that. And then I'm anticipating for next week, we'll have the Alien Worlds 100,000 trillium. So I'll stop funding that endeavor. That's about it. I like posting this because it looks impressive, but looks don't mean everything. But it is neat that there seems to be a lot of people I've invited. But you know, the results are in this room. So so there you go. I'll keep it at that. I will move it over to Eric.
Thank you. I always try, and first question I always ask myself is what can I do to make myself better? I realize the biggest thing is collecting information with what I'm doing. And so I read half of the mom test last week and finished it this week. If you haven't read mom test, it's a great way to get real, authentic information when you're questioning to people to say, how should we go and where should we go and what do you need? So when you're actually trying to get feedback on anything, I highly recommend the book. It's very easy to read. You can get it as an audio book. Recommend that. And of course, I continue to play Dark Galaxies, and thanks to tools now, I'm very much more excited not having to refresh my Alien Worlds mining every 4 minutes. It's now up to half an hour, but big difference in terms of being able to mine. So thank you, Alien Worlds, ƒractal, and Dwayne for that. Started filling out a template, a form to put drop NFTs in JR's lands. So it's really, we're almost going into next year, so I need to finish that up this week. So if anybody wants to do NFT drops into Alien Worlds and JR's lands and Alien Worlds, recommend doing that. When it comes to sharing, we didn't do the live stream this week because Dr. Sharif was sick. But I did have conversations and shared More Equal Animals and Fractally with 2 more people. I invited somebody to this, so hopefully they will come next week. When it comes to building the Metaverse podcast, I'm gone through the cut of Daniel Lermar's interview. I did an interview with Patrick and Nova Crypto this week for That's Done. I also did a pre-interview and scheduled an interview with Steve Thomas, who's been the CEO of Alien Worlds for about 6 months. He's also authoring a book on basically tokenizing the metaversal, and I will be inviting him to Fractal probably next month. So good conversation with that. One of the reasons I'm reading the mom test is because I'm working with the Art Association, and I talked to them, and I'm meeting with them again tomorrow about adding gaming art to their artist coalition, and talk about mixing gamers with the Art Association. Also talked with a couple other people about being potential Fractal points, work on a merch store. So that's most of what I did.
That's awesome, Eric. Before I forget, I was just going to put, when we kind of based on KROWN Man's gamification, one point I'll just write down so we can talk about it later, but is NFTs for this Fractal that we can gamify and drop, say, on JR's lands or other groups, and kind of have that frenemy thing. So any artists, I'm not, I'd like to think I'm an artist, but I'm not, but any people outside of this group or in this group that we can activate to create some art and reward them somehow to gamify our group and engage other groups would be amazing. So
and why I definitely say we need to bring artists who really know what they're doing. I just say Canva lets anybody do art. So, you know, I do NFTs and I am not an artist. So I've designed 2 NFTs so far. So I had something to drop in.
Actually, I can bring it up with the Meetup, which was formerly CryptoWriter. That's what we do. We have, do you guys know we have a NFT brick and mortar store, a brick and mortar display in Australia. If you guys haven't seen it, yeah, let me see if I can get an image. Let's say. But yeah, anyway, part of what Meetup does is not just NFTs and cross blockchain NFTs. We have NFT blockchain cards that allow artists to airdrop promotional art to each chain. And MetaCollect buys art. It has, I think, a $200,000 ape among its collections. So it both supports its artists, it promotes artists. We have a pretty large collection of them. We
Where
don't
is
have
that?
a MetaCollect. I'll get you the link. It used to be a crypto writer, but the actual gallery is in Australia. The first one. We're on Wax. We're on EOS, and a couple other chains. I'll let you, you guys can. Anything specifically that you want me to relay to them, I can. I'll get you the Discord and everything. But also, June, under MervCap, you post on Hive. I've been listing Hive articles in the past couple of weeks on the briefings newsletter. You have been there the past couple of weeks. And I just figure, since I'm listing the writer itself, because some of you guys have posted multiple articles, is there anything you want me to include, kind of like a sentence in there that you want the ƒractal community to know?
Yeah, I think we could talk maybe after this meeting for sure. Thanks, Marco. I think yeah, we can do that.
Send you a message.
Yeah.
And so I'm still working on the Metaversal Merchandise Store. Actually, this week I worked with some developers on templates so that NFT artists could drag and drop there and create t-shirts out of them. So that's still a few months out, but I did work on that with the ultimate goal of, you know, my feeling is like the things you're doing with Dan, with yours, and Marco with the newsletter, the more we can make this stuff physical, the better it can be. So I just think t-shirts are one way to make things more physical and real to people. So I'm trying to promote the idea of us being able to take these NFTs and make t-shirts out. And unfortunately, it's only the North American market at the moment.
If you go to the last link, you'll see a virtual tour of the Australian gallery.
MetaCollect.
Very cool. That's a good add-on. And like, we're a little over time on Eric's introduction, but it was worth it, I think. So I wanted the information, so I just let it happen. And Eric, if you would, please remember to nominate the next introduction.
Oh, well, there's only one left, so you got it.
Okay.
So I didn't think I need to say it.
So the main work that I did this week is I talked to Eric. We had a good old chat about applications, potential applications and opportunities for Ƒractal. We went through a list of potential applications and we went through them one by one about does Ƒractal fit as a use case here? And the question sort of revolved around whether or not Eric can make his postgraduate studies, his master's work about this. Is it master's work, PhD? Like, there's a technicality.
It's doctoral work.
Doctoral work. And
Yeah,
they're all very worthy. They're all very worthy projects, and they're all excellent ideas. And I think that there's a way to apply Ƒractal to each of them. But what we were looking for is who's ready to adopt it quickly, right? Because there's a little bit of adoption curve in terms of like, is the group cohesive? What's the group size? And what's the group dynamic? And what is their governance challenge, right? Like we could identify some projects where the governance challenge is very sort of rigidly defined, where there isn't real governance. It's just the participants can do what they want to do. They don't have to get permission from anybody. And then other groups where they already kind of have to do consensus in order for their thing to happen. But beyond that, I applied the same analysis to Crypto Aces for what to do with my own meetup. And that is the same approximate analysis of who needs this education and where am I going to deliver the education that I do with my meetup. And I think that I'm going to apply Ƒractal as a peer review system, actually, for the social sciences. because social scientists come up with all kinds of studies, and they're like, this is how the group does it, right? And then, but we need some peer review for that, and peer review is already in crisis, even for the hard sciences. Maybe some of you are aware of the crisis of peer review, or the rise of p hacking. And if you don't already, do a quick search for them, and I'm sure you'll be alarmed. But Fractally is very applicable to peer review across the board. So I've been all over that this week, and leave it at that. Thank you, guys.
Brilliant, Jason. Yeah, that people don't appreciate information sciences the way they did before early in the internet. Information technology is not the same as intelligence. Intelligence is research, and research is not the same as investigation. That doctoral thing is a big deal, and something people don't get until they go get their master's degree, because it's not introduced in a bachelor's degree. So the concept of peer hacking is a concept that only people really with a master's degree understanding of information science would get. And essentially, it's a form of corporate espionage, but with social analytics being so big and the servers controlling so much information, it becomes impossible to do peer reviews. For instance, when developers are first educated, the complaint is that the computer company funding the school dictates what they learn. So essentially, you're born either an Apple developer at 17 or 18, or a Dell or a Microsoft developer at 18. And hence, you don't get real education at the computer science level as far as development. You just get people that can plug into those things. So the peer hacking is the next level, probably the highest level of the information disconnect. And it's dangerous, really dangerous.
Absolutely,
But,
absolutely right. We're talking about extremely accomplished professionals who are, their main accomplishment is their ability to obfuscate certainty. Right?
there
It's
you
like,
go.
we
For the
don't know
government,
if
fake news.
gas contamination in the water causes cancer. We can't find out. I don't know.
Right? Oh yeah, no, I'm sure there is no global warming. Of course there is.
There,
That
and it
did
cuts all
exist.
directions. But here, my example reveals my bias. But the truth is, p hacking cuts all directions. If there's somebody out there with an angle to push, it is possible for them, if they are expert enough, to design a study that reinforces their bias, and that's
Absolutely.
p hacking.
On a mathematical level, yeah, no, it's huge.
Yeah, and if you want to draw uncertainty onto things, I mean, there are ways for that too. Which that's part of it, right? It's like, And so many of the studies that have been published in magazines that claim to have been peer reviewed, in fact, cannot be replicated.
Hey, Jason, is p hacking refer to p values? Is that?
It refers to the significance measurement, the confidence
Yeah.
interval. Yeah, the probability. P is for probability, and the confidence interval of statistical measurements like 99% confidence interval or 95% confidence interval or 90%. And
Yeah.
The reason it's called p hacking is because people design a study to just barely get over the margin of that probability that they can publish on, and say, like, we have a 90% probability distribution on this premise, and that if you're at 89%, that's not good enough, right? So they just ratchet up the dials on the experiment just barely enough to get it up to 90% or 95 or something like that, and then that's what p hacking is.
They probably just wholesale fake it. Forget trying to play with the nuances. They're just making up data is how I see it.
Another example. I'll give another example. Abandoned oil and gas wellheads. They contaminate oil and gas into the ground and into the water, and that the companies that own these parcels of land are required to go around and take samples of the soil. right? And then they report the average of the samples from the soil. But what they do is they take like 1 million samples, and then they'll give you 500, the best 500 of them. And be like, this is average. This is from everywhere.
Well,
I got
how about taking the drones, the type of drone you use, and the software used to go around the land and pick it up? So, I mean, if you look at it from how the Republicans and the Democrats have these large organizations, they could be as simply as, does this drone go far enough to measure what we need? If you know if you go a certain depth, will yield you the results that you're looking for. That could be, if you get what I'm saying. I was talking to somebody who is a professional drone surveyor, and he went into all the he went into how specific you can target as far as centimeters and stuff like that. And well, anyway, I'm gonna let it go because I don't think I'm getting it clear enough. But the programming of each drone could go into the statistical not value, but anyway, I'll let it go. If you guys, it's a huge problem.
Yeah, you can have, you can make things the way you want. You could frame experiments to get the result you want, essentially. The same thing with political pollsters. I mean, you know the demographics of who you want to call to get the results you want, right? It's not like a purely like, I mean, you could do that if you wanted, right? To get the results you wanted. So it
used to be a person thing. Now it's built into the system, and what Dwayne was saying is built into the math in a sense.
Okay.
Well, I believe Fractally is the antidote. I think the Fractally might be the antidote, not only for that, but the social sciences. The social sciences have a lot in them, I would say. But we've always known that someone can rig a result, right? And that the point of using Fractally is to put an audience to view it, to scrutinize it. And that within a Fractally group, the Fractally group can come to a consensus as to the validity of that report. So like in the example that I gave, a wellhead operator gives 500 soil samples out of 1 million that they collected, but they skinned the 500 cleanest samples to provide, and then they called that the average. If you actually go out to that site and take some of your own soil samples, pretty much everything you find will be more contaminated than the average that they purported. And that's just that's the crisis of peer review, is that the results are not replicable. There's a report in there saying, yeah, the water dissolved solids level is right there. That's the average. The study is on paper. Look at the number. That's how clean the water is. If you go out there with a cup and scoop it up and then do your own analysis, no, you don't get the same result. That's where we're at. So that's what we apply practically for.
Just remember that the average is also very sensitive to very high numbers or very low numbers. If you say, what's the average house pricing, and you have a bunch of people living in shacks and somebody with a 20 million home on there, you'd say the average house price is whatever. On the other hand, if you have some rich homes and you have a shack worth $1, you say the average house price. So you have to be careful on the word average.
I think correctly helps the centralization and independence of these metrics. We don't need to rely as much on organized solutions for peer reviews. Instead, we can just have build systems that allow the places that we're going to measure, or the organizations that we're going to measure, contribute from their own, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Also remember, with statistics, you can almost never prove anything. What you can prove is the opposite, the null hypothesis. You can prove that, well, this isn't true, therefore the chances of this being true are big. So you could almost, there's just too much to prove anything. So you typically don't. You prove the opposite.
I just realized that I'm the moderator. I'm supposed to keep us on track. We got way off track here. I'm so sorry.
At least we know who led us there.
Yeah, it's my fault. My fault.
I nominate Dwayne for top level.
So in the interest of time, I think that we should move to rank order.
Okay.
I nominate Dwayne.
Unless someone's got burning on their chest that they're like, they want to contribute this thing. I don't want like stifle anyone's thing.
Does that
Yeah.
mean we're doing level 6?
Yeah. So we could, yeah, I guess, how do we, I guess, do you want to just do the top level and just go one by one?
Sounds good.
Main contribution this week. This one's going to be tough. Okay, so we're writing the name of the person in the chat that we feel deserves level 6 for the greatest contribution to Alien Worlds and to Fractally and to governance this week. So does anybody need more time to write the name of the person into the chat? We'll do a countdown, press send at the same time. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we've got 3 votes for Dan, 1 vote for Eric, 1 vote for Dwayne. Nope, sorry, two votes for Dwayne. So I think it makes some sense to, since there were 2 votes for Dwayne, and Dan voted for Dwayne, and Dan received a lot of votes, I think it makes sense to hear from Dan as to the logic of voting for Dwayne.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think that that should be Dwayne. I mean, I appreciated last week I received more respect, and Dwayne didn't receive as much respect because the logic was that Dwayne was also working on other stuff. But I mean, just overall, like he's doing more for the community now with arranging these interviews and working in the background, and also paying Vlad to help build this tool here, and then also just overall contribution. Dwayne hosting these meetings for the past 10 weeks now, and then like paying for it and doing all this work. That's why I think it should be Dwayne at level 6, among other reasons. Also the interview was really cool too. So if you haven't checked that out, I'd recommend, because Dwayne gave an awesome interview. I already shared that last week, but it's worth reiterating because now it's available.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Dwayne to also speak to the logic of voting for Eric. But first, somebody who voted for Dwayne, or somebody who voted for Dan, anybody who voted for Dan, if you'd be willing to share some of your reasons for that. So I'd be willing to, if not another, if no one else really wants to, but we got votes for Dan from June and myself and from Eric.
You could go ahead, Jason, but yeah, I was thinking, yeah, Dan did a lot. He's always kind of, you know, putting a lot of effort into all of kind of governance in Eden, Fractally, and Alien World. So, I mean, I think just the consistent kind of high effort, I think is commendable. I had Dwayne kind of next, but you know, he's I don't, you know, he's, and then the contribution, the monetary contribution was significant too. So I want to recognize that. It was just a little tough this time, and I voted for Dwayne last week, and I was like, okay, you know, this time, you know, Dan this week. So anyway, so I'm cool either way. But yeah, Dan for the hustle and kind of the consistency, and then Dwayne, yeah, I usually have him up there at number 1. You know, most weeks. So,
Well, what impressed me most about a big push for Dwayne was the fact that he funded that tool, but we haven't seen it yet. But the fact that he even did that is very cool. When I look at what Dan does, and I kind of have a suggestion for Dan, just because I know him. You have so much stuff going on. I would talk about less when you brief and talk more about the impact of what you're doing, because
Yeah, I was going to say that the impact of that tool, the potential impact of the tool could change. It changes what we're doing. It's kind of like the impact of founding the whole thing.
So the thing that I thought Dan did, kind of reading between that, but it put a lot of work on us because there's so much in there, was that he's doing a pretty big blend of filling a funnel, maintaining a funnel, making it good for when people show up, and then also building some things that are going to carry on in the future. So I thought he had a good week of share, do, and build for the future, which is the things. On the other hand, that tool Dwayne did, so I just don't know. I just don't know how good that tool is yet, but it could be again a real future thing. But that's why I voted for Dan.
Also say I see Jason said the system, but I'll just respond briefly by saying thank you very much for the feedback. I have been considering doing it more like concise, or rather like focus more on the most important rather than quantity. So I'll take that into account. And then the tool we've also been, if I'm correct, it's the same tool that we've been using for the Eden ƒractal. So it works quite well. It's a simple tool that enables us to put it onto the blockchain. So that brings all the benefits of the blockchain there. And then also soon, I suppose we can integrate it with the ƒractal UI as well, because Vlad's working on that too. So it is quite a helpful tool, I think.
So tell me a little more about that tool. I like it. It's for posting.
Yeah, basically, Dwayne shared a couple of links in the chat, and so I'll just copy and paste it again. But it's a tool it's a very simple tool with the user interface right now, where you can type in everybody's Wax account name and then hit submit and submit a transaction onto the Wax blockchain, where then the levels 6, 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, so forth will go onto a table in the blockchain. And then Vlad also collaborated with James Mart, and they have a tool to automate the distribution of respect and other tokens based upon that. That I'm not sure if Vlad has added, or if Dwayne and had discussed that. That's another part of the tool that also is operational on EOS and could work for Alien Worlds as well. That makes sense.
Cool.
Good stuff. And so we're covering a few bases at the same time in this discussion after the fact about maybe people already have their second and level 5, level 4 ideas in mind. So hopefully we get there, because we are getting real short on time. I've been a horrible moderator today.
Jason,
would you quickly speak to your reasoning for voting for Eric, please?
One thing I'll say too, because I was the one who said that I had more of a hard stop. I am able to go for an extra like 10 minutes or something if we need. So I appreciate your moderating very much, Jason.
Great. I voted for Eric. Similar reasons why you voted for Dan. Consistency, always there, using even Eric's words, filling the funnel, always looking ahead as far as what he can do. And then I've just learned a lot from Eric. I just like the way he tackles these meetings and puts some importance. So it was a really tough one. I had Dan in and I put Eric. So I'd be fine to change my vote to Dan for all the reasons already listed. Always there, consistent, really helping the space, always shows up. So for this one, because it was so close and we are almost on consensus with Dan, I'm going to change mine to Dan. But it's tough. In my mind, they're both right there.
Well, one other thing to mention here too, so I also do receive respect from the Genesis ƒractal and from Eden ƒractal too for what I do, and they're all pretty aligned. I was also thinking at ranking or voting Jason at level 5 today, because I think that Jason does an awesome job of contributing all these meetings and moderating all these meetings. I think you do. I mean, we got a bit off topic, but it was an interesting discussion. But overall, you do an awesome job of moderating it. And also, it sounds like how you're thinking about expanding this with the other communities that you're working with and stuff seems super helpful. So that's something to consider, that I'm getting respect from elsewhere. Whereas I don't know Jason's schedule. If you can make the Eden ƒractal and Genesis ƒractal, that'd be awesome. But that's something to consider as well. And so I'm happy to do it for reaching consensus. If you guys want me to be level 6, but also I'd still advocate for Dwayne and Jason as well, but just some thoughts basically.
All right, cool. Thanks. Go ahead, June.
Yeah, we could do the round, and I think moderation should get recognized, but possibly the following week, because I think whoever volunteers the past week, you could kind of, I feel like it skews the current meeting kind of results, so that people might want to just be a moderator just to get extra credit, I guess. So maybe the following week getting credit for a past moderation might.
Well, I think Jason
might
also did it last week too, right?
Okay, maybe, yeah, so that that counts then. That counts. Yeah.
I know, it's like bowling. It's like bowling. It's like the first round compounds. Okay. Okay. So
Dan proposed a interim consensus thing that the proposals could have lasting change. Dan Larimer proposed fractally for corporate settings. Given that the difference between a long-term decision and work done in the meetings, the work done in the meetings, I believe, if we reward at the meeting, is a big deal. It helps promote fractally as a corporate solution.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good point too. I mean, give credit when it's happening. So yeah, giving credit on the day, it just makes sense as well. So yeah, I was just thinking about it on the fly. So I'm open either way. That is important for the day. I think moderation used to have secretaries that actually record the meetings, and now you have videos. So it's usually the president, the secretary, and they're both valuable. So anyways.
every contribution, whether it's work or not, is still value. It's true. It's like when there are ecosystem services like pollination and stuff. That's like, that is not really work quite. That thing is just doing what it wants to do, but it is still value. So I mean, that's the way I view moderating. It's coming here anyway. But let's move on to writing the names in, can we?
Okay.
As we unpack the work of moderating, I'm just not doing the work. So we're writing the name of the person for level 5 into the chat. Does anybody need more time? Hearing none, I'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, looks like we got a lot of Dwayne out of the gate. That's a consensus. On
Okay.
round one. You know what the clincher was for me? He paid out of pocket. It was only a nominal amount, but that's a different quality of contribution than what the rest of us have done. So good job, Dwayne.
That was unanimous, yeah.
That was unanimous. We could just breeze right on through level 4.
Okay, nice and easy.
Level 4. We'll write in the name of the person. I know we're gonna get stuck on level 3, but you guys, anybody need more time to write the name of the person for level 4 into the chat? Hearing none, we'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we got 4 for Eric, 1 for Marco, 1 for myself. Dan already threatened to vote for me once, so we saw that coming. And
Say threatened.
yeah, and Eric
consensus.
voted for Marco. So perhaps Eric, you could share your reasoning for voting for Marco.
We have consensus. That's 2 or 3.
Yeah, we do actually. We could leave it at that and say we have consensus, and then just take it to the next round.
That's what I would say.
Okay, let's do that because we're a minute over time. So congratulations,
Yeah,
Eric. Congratulations.
I'm always fan. Just the consensus is there. Why?
That's we passed the bar. That's P hacking, right? All right, so let's write the name of the person that we'd like to vote for level 3. Does anybody need more time to write the name of the person for level 3? Hearing none, I'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we've got split vote. 3 for me, 3 for Marco. And
Why'd you
Marco
vote for me instead of yourself?
well, because honestly, what I had done isn't real hard work. We talked about this in an earlier fractally about how all productivity is value. You know, the bee out there pollinating is adding value, but not working. There's a difference. The beaver is doing work that is faster. And so
Yeah, but
this case, I wanted to say like what I've done, I knew about p hacking 5 years ago. Okay, it's not like that was a big discovery for me. I didn't get rocked by it. I worked with Eric on applications ƒractally, and I arrived at a little bit of clarity, right? And in this moderation, I'm just using my knack, right? I'm here anyway. So I thought I'd give the vote to you for applying more consistent direct impact.
This is gonna go against me, but the harder you work in flying a plane, the slower you go. And as Dan mentioned, Dan Larimer, we can value celebrities' mere presence, AKA you, as it does bring value, because that's
And
ultimately what we're looking for.
Jason's input was really good. I mean,
It was a good conversation, and I really would like to see the quality of conversation get rewarded, if not in the current meeting, in the next one, maybe on the post discussion, because if you try to get a free chat on the internet over the past 15 years, I mean, it's challenging, and there's no reason why you need to pay money to get into a quality chat. It degrades just because it degrades. So
we also brought Dr. Sharif into the discussion to look for Asia Pacific opportunities too.
So I gave credit to Jason because of the moderation for this week and last week, and Marco convinced me here. But so I think that is valuable. But in terms of hustle is also valuable as well. So just in terms of like hours with the interview with Eric, like how many hours do you think you kind of spent? And then Marco is the same question, like how many hours? So a couple hours, and then
if hustle inspires, yes. If hustle brings slowdown, then no. But yeah, I value hustle.
Hustle's important. Like that, like if there's any vagueness or uncertainty, that's kind of what I kind of fall back to, because it's hard to determine, what kind of a future value anybody brings, right? It could happen to be something big that, just some sort of chain reaction. But then, but at least as a starting point, it's always like, okay, how much time, how much effort did you put? And we want to encourage.
Each Fractally meeting is like freaking 3 hours long if you're going to stay through to it. So,
and I think that counts. Every time you go to a meeting, that counts. Participation, the more you participate in a meeting, I think that counts even more. So I think that counts. Count, just all of that. I don't know how, but maybe, that would have partial credit if it's just attending, and then probably like actively doing something like writing something. How much time spent on that is probably a little bit more kind of I think what I look for. So maybe that's so let's say Jason did maybe a couple hours for the interview with Eric, and then so Marco, what's kind of your just time spent
writing?
Yeah,
well,
writing.
I can't write the Fractally briefing if I don't attend all the meetings.
True.
And the meetings require like half a day to attend in total for the week.
Okay.
But
No,
it's not, I'm getting rewarded for that.
Yeah.
The value of a really good conversation. If it's the best conversation I heard of the day, I'll bump that. I'll bump that up. I can change my vote to Jason just for that. And because I do it every week, I'm used to it. I'm used to the grunt work.
Amazing.
But I'm not used to the good conversation.
If you change your vote to me, then I'll change my vote to me too. And then we can go on to level 2.
We already got it with me changing it, I think, right? 4 and 6.
Yep.
Yeah, we already got it. You're right. I don't even need to. I'll just leave it. I'll give you the nod. Leave it up on the board. So
Okay.
ready for level 2?
Well, I'll also ask about the level 2 too. So, like it seems like Marco has the most votes right now, but June has done a lot too, and I'm not sure how to value. Like Marco has been all over the place and all the fractals, writing a bunch of great articles. June has, well, you mentioned a couple of things, both raising funding for D-Board from Alien Worlds, I think, and then also in addition, like participating in a bunch of fractals and then writing all these articles. So I don't know if it's necessary to bring this up, but I don't know how to value that, and so
Well, I can say this from a writer. If I'm writing the same stuff week after week, it's easier than to change the topic I'm writing on. And when I look at June's articles, it's like, you know what? I really don't feel like changing that, going into relearning the book and then writing those articles. So I appreciate it and I put it there. If nothing else, I can look back on it. I can find his articles, but for other people as well. So because it's unique to what's being produced now, I value it higher.
Wonderful. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a strong field. I said right at the start, it's like, this one's going to be like everyone's really got something to show here in the way of what we did this week. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shapes up and how we evaluate each other, because it's subjective in a way.
So I'm gonna do it just based on like just time, I guess. This is just the way I'm seeing this one, because it's close. Like, you know, we kind of do similar things. We kind of attended the Fractally meeting, and but you know, you've done a lot of other connecting work, I think, with other like BitShares and others. So there's not only writing, but you know, there's additional things as well. But in terms of like just overall, like whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be writing, but just even connecting and doing thinking or whatever. Like, how many hours do you think you kind of put into this as this past week?
I can't say, because it's kind of like all I do. And the hardest thing for me is some people don't like the idea of fractally, so it's kind of excluding it from the EOS ecosystem stuff that I produce. But I do write articles for other mediums. So, you know,
best estimate, Marco. I'm gonna put mine at like 6 hours.
to fractally, then I'm just going to say, okay.
Is it higher than lower than 6, Marco? That's gonna determine if I'm gonna vote for you.
Yesterday.
In the last week, just more than 6 hours of like, and not including the meeting though, just like
Not including the meeting?
because we were
Let's say
both.
let's say definitely less.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. That's a good question, actually, June. I would ask you the same, since you like.
But though I did
really
spend
good
like
question.
8 hours in BitShares Telegram from time to time monitoring it, which is all about fractal. But no, I want to give it to you, June, because
So no, that counts though. So, but the reason why I said 6 was that's kind of what my my number was 6 though. There's like a rough estimate. It's a rough
nobody's
estimate.
touching on the book right now. And so I value that. I'm gonna give my vote to you and support you.
Thanks, Marco. But we could go ahead and do the blind vote just so.
Yeah, and you know, I suddenly feel better because when I think about it, I probably spent about 6 hours focused on this in a very measured, like exclusive way. Like it had my undivided attention, fractally, governance, and crypto, and that I thought of 6 hours is not very much for a week. So, but suddenly I feel a lot better. But there's more to it than that. There's interactive tax, but
My attention is definitely divided.
yeah. So we've got level 2 primed on the board, ready to go, let's all write the name of the person.
And there is that too. So I think what Marco's also saying is split between fractally and alien world. So it's not like, so maybe another thing later on we have to refine is, okay, specifically to like alien worlds maybe is a kind of something later on. Like, I don't know, because I'm including kind of everything together as well, like just fractally, you know, because it's more equal animals, governance, alien worlds. And Dwayne said, hey, it's governance and alien worlds are the two. So anyway, so it
Until we get
counts.
to UI.
Yeah. So
I think you have to take it as a lump in this space, because whatever you're working with is an opportunity cost. You should at least be aware of what the opportunities are when you choose what you're going to use. So yeah, I take it as a lump sum. You know, it's not like a rigid silo to say, well, now I'm working on Antelope, and then full stop. Now I'm working on Ethereum. It's a different thing. And then no, there's a bridge, right? You're working on one that's related to the other.
gotcha.
Okay, sorry, another distraction.
No, that was good.
Name of the person you'd like to vote for in level 2? Does anybody need more time to type the name of their vote for level 2 in the chat? Okay, so hearing none, we'll do a countdown to click send, and 3, 2, 1. All right, we got June on the board. I love it.
Okay,
No,
so
I
this
almost
is
did. I almost did. I thought it would have looked too inconsistent for me To have
The
voted
first
for
one to
Dan,
change wins.
to have voted for Marco so many times, and then
Dan,
changed.
let Dan choose.
I almost
Dan, you
said.
choose.
All right,
Dan,
so
you choose.
You said let me choose?
Let you choose. Or
Well, I don't know if I should choose because I already voted for June. I mean, my reason, I greatly appreciate
sorry, I
what
forgot
Marco
about
does,
that.
of course, but I think also June's been attending a lot of these meetings, and like I think that what he's done with like the Miracle Animals and stuff, like I think it's awesome. So I don't know, but I'm happy to go either way too. But maybe somebody else who voted for Marco also, because right now there's 3 for Marco, 3 for June. So or if anybody voted for June wants to change, I'm probably not the best person to speak here.
This is the toughest one because there's no doubt what they did was great. It's just tough to say what are the different impacts.
yeah,
I'm right on the edge of changing my vote. Actually, it's totally subjective, and at this point, it's become a little bit fun about like drawing the edge of our contribution in terms of like, well, yeah, it was valuable, but I also got rewarded already. I don't need to be rewarded twice, and like, but I was, for some reason during June's introduction, I did not quite visualize fully the work that he had done and the impact that it has. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I like D board and he talked about proposals and grants, and I didn't really get those. I mean, but they sounded really, really, really good. Maybe you could talk a little more about those.
yeah. Dboard is a DAO tool, so it is
Yeah.
a governance tool, and it really was just doing some work on that side to apply for the Alien Worlds Galactic Hub grant. So there's just some forms you just have to fill out. So that was probably like an hour, maybe an hour, yeah, of just filling out forms.
how much money can that bring into the system?
So this we're actually getting a grant for ourselves to build out the project. So this is more about like bringing it to the Alien Worlds ecosystem so that planets can use it as a tool. And so there's potential for yeah, I think it can help all DAOs and used as a planetary kind of organization tool. So a metaverse organization tool. So I do think, yeah, I am a firm believer
I
that
gave that a real,
Yeah.
I gave that a real push for the future slider for me. It was like really potentially high up on the future slider. And then for the right now, you had the blog post. And I didn't really see those. So that's what I was looking at is, most of Marco's stuff was on the front end stuff. So I had him very high on the kind of on the funnel right now, bringing things together, a little bit on the doing. So when it comes to, sharing, doing, and building for the future, I had Marco a little higher for the sharing and doing, and then I had you in the doing and much higher in the future. And I don't know how to evaluate those very well because they're both pretty.
Yeah, that's
close
fine.
to
I mean,
a
if for just to break the
running
tie
back
and yeah, thanks, Dan. Just to break the tie, I mean, I don't mind being the kind of the last one here because I think we're running out of time. So I could change my vote to Marco
Nope.
just so that.
Nope.
it's
Too
easier.
late. Too late. I've changed my vote. The reason I did it is because Marco voted for June.
Okay.
The main reason I did it is because Marco went to bat for you, bud.
Right.
And
Okay.
right, that speaks volumes.
Appreciate that. Okay. No, appreciate Marco's vote. But if I think that's. I mean, if that's
Here's something. If I didn't include June's vote last week on the articles he wrote last week, I wouldn't have included 2 other authors this week on the newsletter. So, that's not good.
cool.
Absolutely. Strong contributions and a good discussion about them. Actually.
Yeah, very good discussion. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good. We're learning a good process here. So a lot of different factors and we kind of we made
You know, the other thing is, what June touches upon is what Dan mentioned 3 weeks ago. I remember a newsletter or people posting to Hive and then getting that retweeted, upvoted, liked, and stuff like that. And it seems like the community forgot about that. But you know, just little things like that that come to the meeting can be big, I think.
Yeah, I think you know it's good to market your content like and that's what I have to start doing better to like once you write it, it's kind of like, oh, you're done, but then no, you got to do the other side, which is like promoted it even with the community. I think is important.
With
like,
that being
first.
said, I'm going to promote my content, and I put the link in to subscribe to the Building the Metaverse podcast channel, which
I
I
am
set
already
up.
subscribed.
There's nothing in it yet because I'm editing it, but that's where I'm going to start posting the
yeah.
interviews. And by the way, every one of us talked about Fractally and Alien Worlds a lot, especially my recent record with Patrick. So
I did drop in for like 10 minutes to listen to the Dr. Sharif. There was a live stream, I think. It might have been 2 weeks ago, I guess, because you didn't mention it. Is that like, yeah, how's the metaverse? How are you kind of working with is it Sharif? Dr. Sharif?
yeah, so Dr. Sharif has connections in developing countries, so we're hoping to reach a lot of those to look for Alien Worlds use cases and fractal use cases where we can really go and do those. So I put out a mind map with potential topics, and I'm open to more topics. Typically we do these Mondays, except for last Monday. And the way I look at it is this. So to get people interested to say, hey, here, listen to June, here's something's interesting, go here. That's the purpose of the Building the Metaverse podcast, or any podcast really. Some of the stuff even that Dan and Patrick is doing is, here's something interesting, go here. Then you've got would you like to learn more about it in depth? So we do panels and discussions. So we do live streams to support this idea of, well, we got you interested, now let's teach you more about this. And then from there you go into the workshops like the ones Patrick are doing, which is, no, let's actually learn, get you in from the workshop, then we can do actually courses and certification. So that's how I look at the framework of all these. And my hope is we can build that as a single framework to say, here's how you find out, here's how you learn more, here's how you learn to do it yourself, and here's the real stuff. So workshop.games fits into that last category as a framework for actually teaching people to do this stuff successfully. You know, like I imagine someday Dan's in there teaching people how to, you know, do the stuff he does. And Marco could even say, here's how you do a newsletter. And then the newsletter is part of that marketing arm to say, look at the podcast, look at the live streams,
Actually,
look at the interview, look at the workshops, look at all this stuff.
Actually, I've already started taking the briefings that I've amassed over the years, because even when I finish writing the briefing, if people go and see that it's not the same thing as getting a one-on-one discussion, and Fractally could turn out to be a group of people who've already been interviewed come here, and you ask them questions live. So you can target specific things, again, maximizing your time. Without Fractally, maybe we don't have this option as well. It could be something like breakout rooms, decide which interviewers have the highest impact on the topic that we're looking for. Again, a corporate objective. But yeah, not just how to write things, but to transfer experience more quickly. To get people up to speed, get people with the wisdom that we had in founding this a year down the road.
Yeah, and I imagine books are a big thing. So that's one reason why we're talking to Steve Thomas about, you know, tokenizing the tokenized economy of the metaverse. Hopefully the stuff that I will be producing with the dissertation, hopefully paper, articles, interviews, books. But a lot of that stuff is how you bring all that stuff together, so it's not just one of us, you know, fighting facing the wind by ourselves is if we're all doing this, saying, here's where you go to get these levels, I think would be helpful.
Do I need Anchor to log into Wax for the tool?
Yeah, you bet. It's it uses Anchor Wallet, and
I
if
think I
you,
disconnected that.
if you can,
Yeah, I
please
can.
use
I have-
kind of the Wax accounts that I've kind of listed. So I had all your Wax accounts, so I just did a sheet and changed the consensus names with your corresponding Wax address. And when you
What
log
is
into
it?
that
What do you put in for a group number?
group number 1.
Did you guys use the Fractally the app last week? Were you
It
guys able to?
failed.
My group
It
tried and
failed
it
for us.
failed.
Yeah, we failed. It didn't work.
Oh wait, so Eric, who's failed? I guess it's Eric. Was that?
Ours did when our group at the Fractal meeting, we tried to use it and
Oh, okay.
it didn't work. We kept getting errors just when we went to it.
Oh, okay. And then
Same here.
Dwayne.
Yeah, our group failed as well.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
Val as one of the programmers, and he didn't give it much time. It failed pretty quick, and he just gave up and went back to Zoom.
Huh. Okay.
We had Gregory Wexler. He didn't even want to try it.
What was that?
We had Gregory Wexler. He didn't even want to try it.
He didn't want it?
No, he thought it would fail.
That's weird.
You know,
Yeah.
I had the sense too on how little time that Val gave it, that he kind of didn't want to use it as well. Because usually when something doesn't work, you try it for at least a little bit because you're excited to try and make it work. But yeah, he gave up instantly too. It just kind of felt a little weird. So my gut instinct was, oh, I think they kind of knew it wasn't ready, but they needed to release something. I don't know.
Yeah, that is weird because ours did work. I was in the room with Dan and Brandon, and Brandon was kind of also part of the team. So, and it did work. It was pretty seamless and quick. So, but we were like, it did seem interesting because we were the first ones to finish in like 10 minutes. I think there were other reasons why we finished early. It wasn't that difficult, but we were the first ones, and I was like, oh, if someone else is using the tool, I just wanted to see how soon they would be posting and replying on Hive.
I think the developers knew that they could only have one group working, so they just gave it to Dan to make him look good.
Gotcha. Okay, that's funny. All right, so that could be it. Like maybe it was just concurrency issues with the app. So yeah, that's funny. But
Yeah,
it
I
worked
have
well. At least.
I
I
filled
have a
this tool
separate-
in, and I hit submit, nothing's happening. I
Yeah,
need
it should bring
to-
up a little transaction at the bottom if it completes.
Yeah,
I have a
let's see.
separate,
And then I'll try logging in again.
I have a separate Wax account that I use for Anchor. I prefer not to use this account on Anchor, at least now. Maybe I'll do it offline. You can sign it for me.
I will have to confirm the validity of using the same account we're voting with, because you're right. Can you sign in with a .wham account just with Anchor?
My problem extends with Wombat, because Wombat takes the keys, and I kind of set something up specifically for that. I don't know how big of an issue it is. So I want to do this offline, see what I need to get into.
Yeah, for sure.
I still haven't tackled the Wombat thing. They
Yeah.
changed twice already. I have like three different accounts for them.
Now, anybody that had, there's only 2 of us that had, like Dan and myself, kind of have a different account, not a .wham. But are you guys able? I'm sorry, I can't remember. My head's cloudy. Can you log in with a .wham account with Anchor or no?
I think you would have to import the keys, just like
Yeah.
right.
Okay, well, you know
I
what?
did-
That's a good feedback that I didn't think about when I went through the demo with Vlad, just because I wasn't using a .wham account. But, this is an Alien Worlds group. and 99% of the people won't have a custodian account, right? So I'll bring that up to Vlad and see how much effort there is to have two logins, Wax Web Wallet and Anchor. It just makes sense. And yeah, I just didn't catch it on the first time. It took us to go through this to actually catch it. But because it's coming from EOS, the tool is made for EOS. We didn't forward think about the whole Wax Web Wallet. So this will be enough consensus for us today. You know what I mean? It was good to figure out that, we need to add an extra wallet availability. And then
Yeah.
Marco,
We
with
could log in and Wax, that'd be
with
useful.
Anchor, with Wombat as well, maybe, I guess we'll just survey, in our group, how many people have Wombat, but maybe even.
No, it was for the Wombat Dungeon where they were
Ah.
taking the NFTs and stuff. I just want to avoid that.
Yes.
I can send you a memo, me signing it with your-
This is there's no one monitoring us except ourselves, and I have the consensus just like I have in every other week. So this isn't going to break anything. It's just I
You
will
would
just
have
do it
my-
I will kind of do it manually and just kind of rack it up as next week. I'll try and twist Vlad's arm to make sure we also have a Wax Web Wallet login. So
If I
I think
send
for this
you-
week's is fine.
You would have the signature of blockchain though for my account.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And if I fix it, if I find something on a Anchor, I'll be in there.
You bet. There's one thing for the future. I'm sure I'll be at most of these meetings, but for some reason, if someone else is hosting, just to explain one limitation in the tool is that it errors out if there isn't 5 people listed. So should you ever be in a room and we're using this tool in the future and you only have 4 people, just put a placeholder in the 5th spot. And the master account for this alien world is ƒractal.moon. So if you only had 4 people in your room, just put ƒractal.moon in that 5th spot, or else it'll error out. There was just kind of a minimum 5 people needed in the room. So yeah. Well, if you guys give me a second, let's get our little rewards up here. Let me see. Share screen. All right, 1 second here. Okay.
Hey Marco, you I think a couple of weeks ago you won both the spins, right? Wasn't that 2 weeks ago?
You did.
I had
Yeah.
logged off, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. If you got a video.
Yeah, it's still coming. I'm still working on that one. That's the next one up here. So
this is wait, this is a little different, huh?
all right. Okay, so left-hand side is for 1,000 trillium.
Wait, do we have 6 people?
Marco again. Yeah, I don't put myself in the draws.
Oh, you don't put yourself? Okay.
No, because
Marco,
I'm the one funding it to be.
You should go to Vegas, Marco.
Yeah, no shit. All right,
I
if
used to
you
work
went
in
on
a
this
city.
right side, there's something up. I think you put a virus in my spinner wheel or
Is it
something.
spinnerwheel.com?
Yeah,
It's P hacking.
yeah. All right, June, 1
All
million
right.
crown.
Oh man, look how close it is. Hey, I sent the what do you call it? The transaction.
Okay.
right there, if that helps.
Perfect.
So which did I win? The TLM or the other one?
You won 1,000 trillium. And then June, let me just write down 1 million crown.
There's a KROWN. The KROWN is something I heard about. I keep avoiding looking into the old potential. Someone
It's-
talked about it. And I
it's-
started looking.
It needs a reboot. We'll have to see where the real application is. It's still it's been grandfathered in a lot of exchanges, but the activity of the members, everyone's moved on. Like most of the people that were part of KROWN are now working for Alien Worlds, right?
Right.
So it's hard just to let it go because there's tokens. The tokens are not worth a lot, but we still do worker proposals. We have a little bit of activity, but I'm sensing with this new Antelope relaunch in Q1, having, you know, a DAC software right into the code, tools like Junes, Gboard, and all this stuff. There's going to be some application that we could, you know, reuse that, and mostly because of all those things grandfathered. You know, if you get a token now, just to get your own token on all these exchanges, to have liquidity, to, you know, have a big distribution. So there's not enough activity to call it a community anymore. But we'll see. Maybe there's something where KROWN fits in that we could, you know, put it in. It's not my main driver, but it's always in the back of my head going, hey, if there's an opportunity for us to engage people and reinvigorate this, that would be great. But yeah, at one time it was, you know, the funnest thing, and we had a big community, and now it's kind of, you know, Dwayne has some KROWN, I'm just spilling them out to people.
Are any games that use them?
We're gonna do a some cross promo with Alien Worlds, but it needs something bigger. You know what I mean? Like just giving out tokens and not, you know, having other engagements. It is what it is. So yeah, I definitely would love to see it have some sort of utility in governance. Right? It's not kind of a pump and dump token. It's just, it would be something if we can find. Yeah, so on the top of my head, I can't put my finger on what that is right now. It is what it
I
is.
think I
but-
got some from Bullshit Boots back in the day.
Okay.
So, and he's linked to like so many different projects. So I just wondered if there was one maybe that's got it in there. But yeah, it's good.
It's cool. It's one of the tools we paid for that, you know, now we're getting IBC in October, right, on EOS. But it's kind of cool that we have IBC on KROWN. That, you know, we've done a lot of things that were ahead of the curve that were kind of fun. Yeah.
They haven't seen Max for a long time.
Yeah, he's I've touched base. I'm like, geez, Max, you know, not coming to our consensus meetings. Come on. But yeah, every time I reach out, he's working overtime. Yeah. He's got some pretty
Well,
pretty big roles.
He was running all the events basically that they were doing. Alien Worlds was doing.
Did have a conversation about a drop tool with Cone Man and with Jordan. So that's on the schedule. The motives of Jordan is that he wants to have a gamified experience. So he wants to be rewarded every week with Trillium so that he has something to look forward to. And so that'll be another grant application. I'm just going to fund it right now, but with the help of Cone Man, we're going to bring that tool to this group. So what I alluded to before of us coming up with NFTs that get us attention and kind of engage other communities, you know, that's definitely would be awesome. And then we can have our own drop tool. And then Marco, I'm glad you dropped all those links. I'll do a little bit of investigation over there because we don't have to reinvent the tool or have something our own if there's other systems we could be using. So I'll definitely look into those and start engaging.
I don't know what kind of gamification he's thinking about, but one thing that's possible is to use anybody who attends here as a staking horse in the weekly competition, where whatever coin, whatever game, whatever objective, choose a person that's listed or whatever, and essentially the whole point of it is to make this the top of the pyramid for the stake, and then that gets distributed to the people here, and then the rest to the people that back them, to encourage more people to join and to make the stakes in the discussion here higher, to make the discussions more important or volatile or whatever you want to say. But kind of like approaching from the way those gamer competitions are, and the game is this. Does that make sense?
Well, the cool thing is too, is that maybe we have a challenge of figuring this out. I'm not sure if we have enough time during these meetings, but we have 100,000 Trillium. Like, it's nice that we just get an NFT backed by it, but we could put that out to the community that we could get Trillium, and that we have to stake it, or we have some sort of other gamification where we have we obviously have this ƒractal token. It's not liquid, it's not on any exchanges, but yeah, there's we should be able to use the lessons learned of what's worked for other groups to gamify, and we have a pot of tokens, and we have our own token, and we are mining on Fractally, right? So we should be able to have some funner engagements. One thing too, I'm not sure if it really ties in, but there are different NFTs and levels that people are getting during Alien Worlds, and one of them is that point system. So if we, maybe it's more ahead of us, if we had more just Alien Worlds players, that could be some of the contributions they could bring up, is like, look, I am actually playing, I got this NFT. We could have shovel-ready jobs of people marketing this group, and they could feed back into us, that we could be giving that staking or doing some gamification. But yeah, I agree, I have some thoughts, but I haven't given it full attention on how to really up our gamification.
I would say just an open framework of first of all, if there's already rankings, if there's already points, if there's already mythical or something tied to it, then we use it in some way. However, it doesn't matter because we can change it. But the key would be the nexus point. What's going to be the nexus point? Well, obviously playing Alien Worlds has to be at the end or at some point key, or at the top of the level. And then, at least for now, since we're trying to grow it, Fractal becomes the top of that level. And it just directs how the points are allocated. Since we already have ranking systems in place, but those are just plug and play into the whole thing. You can write smart contracts based on it. I believe that's how the corporate things will start using that with different brands and things. From how some things fail after social media to what they've settled on, but some of the visions of the early internet, I think we're going to start to resurrect here.
Well, and there's all this whole concept of new council members. I'm going to go for elections, saying that if I'm elected, we're using this process. Then we could add that other gamification on kind of the in-between. We could use this process to stake, to give weight on the people going for council members. You know what I mean? So we could have a feedback loop for them weekly of like, hey, that person was a total asshole in the chats this week. They were number one. We voted them for a planet, but we're taking away all their stake and giving it to someone else. So it could be a feedback loop within that system. So yeah, there's so many options. Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, interesting discussion. Something that it made me wonder, and I don't know if this is the proper place for this, so I could ask somewhere else too, because I don't know if it's directly related to Alien Worlds Ƒractal, but something I've been wondering is I was checking out the Genesis Ƒractal tallies that Gregory puts out, and the EOS Translation Foundation team has a lot of respect. Like I think in total has like 5% or 10% of the total respect. I think both Dwayne and Marco on that team, if I'm correct. And so, yeah, I'm just wondering if you guys have plans for what to do with that respect, and if any of that respect can or will be used to, or might be used to somehow work with the Alien Worlds Ƒractal.
Oh, you're on mute, Marco.
Yeah, and I'd support Dwayne's effort with that. I'm not sure where Mark is going with that, but I know he's heavily invested into the Translate League, and they're connected with the bees and to some degree Nova Crypto. But yeah, no, I would be a big supporter of gamifying that. I believe gaming needs crypto once it's developed. I believe gaming is more important than crypto once it's developed, of course. Just like the pilot's more important than the airplane once it's developed. So that's how I see gaming. I know most people don't look at it that way, but we have a logical world and we need more creative stuff, and the gamers understand that and the digital assets. It's the best way to secure it as well. So if you're wondering what I would do with my vote on that stuff, it's definitely behind Wayne. We don't have another game yet. So
On the point of having a game, the thought that occurred to me was that it's a go-to technique in the world of conflict resolution to have a tie-breaking method agreed first, because like before you begin engaging in governance, right, before you start getting into the weeds of issues where you might run into an impasse, before that, like, well, it's still on good terms with your counterparty, you should assign, it is wise to assign a tie-breaking method that you both agree to. And that could be any form of game. It could be a roll of the dice. It could be paper, rock, scissors. It could be draw straws. It could be call a friend and, have a tiebreaker friend. It could be whatever you want it to be. And it could be an elaborate game. It could be, the Tour de France outcome. It could be whatever game you want, but as long as you agree,
skill-based too.
that is how you'll break the tie.
No, absolutely. It's serious. I mean, it's skill-based. Ideally, is I think goes back to at least the Greeks. That's how they decided some things. It's not just who's the strongest guy. We need somebody to be able to toss something. So whoever rock goes the furthest. But, well, how about the javelin? Who's going to be the leader? Well, it'll be a spear tossing thing. So yeah, no. There's not much respect that gets into it. And the thing that I bring up when I try to promote games is they're MMOs. People like talking and chatting. And that's kind of like what we're doing here. So we succeed in innovating this with ƒractal. We succeed in probably getting that disconnect in gaming. Anyway.
That sort of prompts an interesting train of thought in a different direction, a little bit of a different direction, to say that games can, the outcome of the game can be an intrinsic proof. The game can be constructed to be a proof of a competency that we know by like the design of the game, that the only way to succeed is to understand something, right? But it's a proof that this person has some level of competency to have accomplished the mission in the game, or to have won in the game, or succeeded, or however the game is designed. A game could be a proof of human, hypothetically, maybe. That's a valuable thing. I don't know if I want to get into the weeds with that just yet, but the proof of human part, the proof of human part is a good aspect of the game.
Please go into it. If nobody else is going to jump in here, yeah, because that's not something I gave a lot of thought to.
Because yeah, gaming does precede crypto, and gaming is, Alien Worlds does a good job of satisfying the full market of people who want to run bots, people who want to be sophisticated and advanced and use sophisticated infrastructure to play the game with, but also keeping it at a human interaction level where there's like a proof of stake and there's a qualitative dimension to participating. And so I think that's part of why Alien Worlds is so special. But the game, there could be special games. Like, okay, you guys go through captchas all the time. I do too. It's like, click all the squares that have streetlights, or verify I'm not a robot. We can make that more fun. We can make that, that's the game refreshes that, improves that. And I don't know, that might be a utility to explore.
At some point, it was mentioned that this would be used as an identity in place of as a global identity, because you have not just your face and your actions, but you have your intelligent conversation, and more than that, you have networks that you build. So you have your friends and stuff like that. And if social can already be used that way, this provides. It was said early on ƒractal was first coming in there. And I believe it touched upon the AIs, how this would revolutionize the AIs. For the proof of human thing is really something I think we should look up a little bit more or bring up. But I think that's going to come with the ƒractal UI. If you look at the demo, there's some things going on there that just took this to a whole new level. It didn't look like there was a lot of structure as far as the consensus building. It looked like consensus was happening right from the beginning. I think the video was maybe 28 minutes long or something. I forgot. And before, I think people stopped presenting. Some, like maybe after 10 minutes, people started changing the, they started ranking. That was it. As people presented, they started ranking the contributions on their own. So still a lot to be done with that. Maybe
Yeah,
a
it's
live capture.
stuff. Good stuff. Because strong identity tools are different than proof of human. There's a very important distinction between them. We have a strong digital identity tool, like a login, right? We end up with a pair of keys that we log in, and that's functionally been authenticated through Web of Trust or through another protocol of some sort to verify that once you've logged in, it's a unique login, right? And you get that far. You got a strong identity tool, but it is possible for an advanced practitioner to get their strong identity tool and log in and then run a bot as though it were themselves. And that even behind a strong identity tool, you still need occasionally to have proof of human. In some cases, right? In some cases it doesn't matter, but in some cases it does.
I mean, probably most people here have already thought of the deep fakes. I think that there's an undertone there of some of the discussions that the ƒractal team bring up. I haven't looked deep into it, but the part of the built into the education system is the not an intelligent signature, but you can kind of tell. You should be able to tell who wrote something if that's your field of research. And if you can't tell who wrote it, maybe you never encountered that writer before. When it comes to things like research, how you bring it together and things like that. And I believe deepfakes will go along those lines. So proof of human obviously comes into that. So you can have you can look at a deepfake and say, oh no, there's not even a human being. Sort of thing. Anyway, this goes into the AI thing, and I've always said that if you got enough money, you wouldn't be watching, you'd be an AI.
Well, yeah, I mean that's funny, but don't worry, there are both. I think I'm a big believer in organic intelligence, right? AI. One of my favorite expressions about AI is asking, "Does a submarine swim?"
There's a what?
Does a submarine swim?
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah, it's like, does AI think? Does AI decide? Right? Does AI evaluate or analyze or what? And those questions are about the same, parallel as saying, well, does a submarine swim? And that those are human behaviors. Those are organic intelligence parameters to evaluate, to decide. Machines do what they're programmed to do, ultimately, right? And the submarine is moving in the water, but it is not swimming. And just like the AI is plowing through the topic, it is not thinking.
I've likened AIs to Jeeves or butlers, where one day everybody will have that. Instead of just asking for a search, maybe this is the task at hand, and it's the equivalent of having a butler. A butler acts upon someone else's idea. So in the future, we have everyone having their own ideas, and then the AIs supporting that. I see sci-fi has already gone along those lines. And Fractally is a meeting place for ideas. So you wouldn't want ultimately, and right now, I guess you could have proxies, but ultimately at these Fractally meetings, you wouldn't want people coming in with somebody else's idea. You would want the only people with ideas, their own ideas presented here.
Well, for sure. For sure. And that's why I think I'm a big believer in organic intelligence, right? Because again, AI can spit every feasible option, not and even some infeasible options at you. But AI doesn't have ideas, right? It's like, can we get ideas from AI? No, I don't. Not original ideas, not quite. AI has to be raised, and AI is a product of being raised. You have to feed it an input to process with, and that the designer and the operator is sort of, well, creating an AI for a specific purpose, but it doesn't have any ideas into itself. No original ideas there. Doesn't think. That's why, like, Fractally is for organic intelligence. It's great.
This touches upon something I mentioned to Eves when he was presenting, when he was first presenting GameFi. He talked about, what do you call it? Not councils, like gaming guilds and the importance of them. And I brought up a couple of movies. One with the guy that played Superman, and I think it was Speedball or whatever, where a gamer becomes like a movie star, or a sports athlete. It makes his a sports athlete a movie star, and essentially he's his own marketing tool. And I believe for blockchain to be successful, the idea guilds are okay. Like they'd be the idea of a Fractally team. But the paramount importance would be taking the gamer who has a creative aspect, like an artist, and not allowing the artist to derive value after his death. The objective would be, because we're peer-to-peer, every artist would be able to, every musician, reporter, would be able to transcend the barrier of service providers. So the guilds are important, but the objective here would not be saying which team is most important. It would be saying which gamer is most important. Which I lost a little bit of track there, but again, you have the gamer. The gamer represents the idea as the player. It's like watching an artist paint in real time. It depends on the game that you're playing out, but again, there you have taste. Where a guild is kind of like the AI. It has an objective for people, but ultimately you don't want it under the control of one idea. So it has to be subject to the individuals that bring them out. And then you have a guild like company, so it's
Points. Yeah, you guys are already familiar with Nigel, the personal assistant AI app?
a little bit. I'm looking it up now.
It's been a thing for a while, and that I think that Fractally could encourage some peer review comparisons on each of their own Nigel app. Oh, June's got to go. June, what's up? What do you want to leave us with before you got to go?
Hey, no, it's all right. No, I was just listening in and just doing some other things here. So yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys just next time. And let's collab with especially if you guys have content. So I'll follow up with you, Dwayne, next time. But Marco, Dan, and Eric and Jason, I think collabing on content is great. Like, because I'm gonna start doing content for kind of the EOS wallet on-ramp startup. So kind of want to be able to collaborate with everybody.
Send you DM.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna take off too.
That's awesome, June. See you, Marco. And June, I did that Pomelo grant for onboarding people to EOS. So yeah, I'll catch up with you on that as well. Maybe there's some cross collaboration with that.
Okay, cool, cool. I'll yeah, definitely follow up. And then yeah, for D-board too, maybe you can talk about that as well.
You bet.
Because
That sounds great.
for wax. So all right, cool.
Awesome.
Unless,
Sounds great. Yeah, I also have to get going too, but I'm looking forward to collaborating with you, June, and collaborating with everybody. And yeah, great meeting. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks
Sounds
so much,
good, guys. All right,
Cheers,
take care.
guys.
All right.
unless Jason, you want to
Thanks.
continue
Yeah.
your,
See you next
your
time.
talk? Stay for a few more minutes.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say how when a person downloads Nigel, the app, the AI personal assistant, then Nigel starts listening to the other apps on the phone and starts listening to the master, right? Taking instructions the same way that Alexa does or that Siri does. And that after a couple of years, one person's instantiation of Nigel will have very different programming, like instruction parameters than somebody else's. And it'd be interesting to see how wide that variance really gets.
All right, so you got that. Are you a gamer at all?
I used to be more of a gamer than I am now. I actually gave up
So
video
you
games
have-
as an addiction.
What's your
Like,
oldest asset?
15 years ago as a video gamer, I quit. I started playing guitar instead, and I was like
I
on the
see.
brink of flunking out of school.
What is the oldest creative asset, gaming, guitar, music, whatever, that you still have, either on a digital storage or in a real life storage?
Oh, that's tough. All right, let me think. I've got
Broad base. I can say this.
almost.
I threw away games throughout the years, but I never threw away the boxes or the games of aviation. So I have those dating back to the a game from, I think, the 1997 maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I have a master's in aeronautics, so it tells a story. You know, I mean, I have things preceding me flying an airplane in digital gaming over a decade. So
Cool.
the
There's your
AI
collective.
that you, yeah, so the AI you brought up of how it'll change, people are going to resonate with that, and it's hard to express that to people who don't understand the online life or don't engage in that way.
Well, yeah, no, of course. I mean, the passion, right? The passion for it is there. My brother is like the collector between us. My brother has a collection of every movie. I'm not exaggerating. He's like archive.org. He burned them all onto CDs. He's put them all onto external hard drives. I mean, I don't want to like rat him out on the internet because of our Zoom is being observed by others or anything. But it's for non-commercial purposes. He's not a pirate, right? But it's easy enough to keep your own copy of a movie, like, and you're allowed to, legally speaking, as long as you're not redistributing the content, that for your personal consumption, you are allowed to have a copy. And so he's a collector, and movies are the tip of the iceberg, actually. I mean, old archives of stuff, Marvel comics, Marvel cards. Yeah.
So now you have a Jeeves coming in here, cleaning everything up and taking your requests, like in Ready Player One, find this, find that, do this with that. And because you have blockchain on there, it makes the whole database more manipulable or whatever, or ability to write contracts to them and stuff like that. Splendid talk.
Well, collectors, the house I live at, the people who own this place, are they're art connoisseurs, and they organize occasional like expos and events that celebrate the arts. They're not quite in the industry like full time, but collectors they come in all sizes and shapes, right? There's a collector for just about anything you can imagine. And it's not new. It's the opposite of new. I think I think it's an intrinsic to
No,
life.
it's
That's
not.
the way that ravens go
not
after
new.
shiny objects.
No, it's not new, but with the internet, we have more people now because people aren't going to want to throw away their photos. In the past, they were lost or whatever. But yeah, the internet allows more people to be collectors and realize that value. Maybe that's just it.
Yep. Recognizing that there's more people accessing the same collector sphere. There are more items that are collectible. That's true, right? Yeah, that's what I see in it. I mean, other people tend to point to other aspects of it, like greater fool theory or something like tulip mania or anything like that. But tulip mania has more to it, first of all, than more credence to it than average economists tend to lend. Because at the time, people who were trading and dealing in tulips had their most prosperous time. It was an economic boom, right? The reason people were trading a house for a tulip bulb was because they had 4 houses. Like they were rich because of the tulip boom. So there's that.
Well,
I mean,
I wanna
tulip
take
mania
off.
was a form of collectors.
No, I get the tulip thing, and it's kind of like why weren't people planting these things? And if you live in New York, there's not land to plant them. But if you're from the farm, you'd be like, why is tulip mania such a big deal? You put in transportation, you got more land. The supply chains and all that blockchain brings in, or if it makes more efficient, changes things. To compare blockchain to a tulip, it was a little funny to begin with, but
Yeah, no, it was.
I was going to say, a blast from the past of, video games. I sold my really nice bike and saved up for 2 years to buy an Apple II GS. And then I saved up for another year to buy like 8 bytes of RAM, which was like $700 or something. And I remember the silly little games back then, but one that was just kind of a funny one that I still have somewhere was Leisure Suit Larry. I'm not sure if you remember that one. It's an old one. And then you're right. I was really into flying as well. As a kid, I went through air studies and glider pilots and all that kind of stuff. So I had all those early aviation, you know what I mean? Whether it was whatever it was, but they were very, very crude. The controllers were crappy and stuff. But yeah, I remember those at the time were just like amazing. Like the graphics weren't even graphics. Do you know what I mean? You were hardly seeing like little shapes in front of you, but just the as like a 12-year-old or something being behind a cockpit, and it was, somewhat real. And it was awesome. Yeah.
Well, here you got, and this touches upon what Jason was saying. It's aviation is going to stay a little bit. You have Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then you have X-Plane. X-Plane was based on math. So when you designed it, you know that, right? So everything you did in there, from the flight to the wing development, all that was a mathematical calculation or whatever. So now today, and based on that p hacking thing, you can take this fractally thing, and you can help. Since we have proof of human here, you can help identify what's fake news, what's not. But I'm going to take off on that unless you had something else to say.
That's it, Marco. I appreciate you. That's awesome.
Yeah, everyone's bullshit detector is a little bit different than each other, right? And that we depend on each other to be like, oh, this showed up on your bullshit radar. You've read something like it before. You're familiar already. Explain it to me. I want to see if I understand. Maybe I agree. Maybe I disagree. But we're gonna explore it, right? We're gonna get into the thick of it and explore it and figure out what's right. And anybody who digs their heels in on a wrong position will lose station in life for that. In a fairly reliable way, I feel.
they can come back next week and they can try to bring the mail over again. But for this week, we can determine what is known. If that helps put an end to the whole thing, because you can bring your lawyer in next week, but at the table on that day, we found solid ground.
Yeah, these confrontations are super tenuous, right? Like issues that are unresolved, disagreements that are unresolved, governance issues that are thorny, right? We do our rank order thing and it's all like a love fest because we appreciate each other's work and we continue to work with each other. So it's like, no, you take number one. No, you take number one, right? But in reality, governance is way the fuck more aggressive than that. And the competition is way the fuck different than that, right? The viewpoints are way more contentious than that, and that these conversations require the foreknowledge that this is all going to be reviewed. We're not just doing this like on the street somewhere, right? Where you can say whatever you want and then lie about it later. It's like, no, this is going to be like on the record in a way, right? And so know that.
When it gets bigger, some of the things people miss are, I believe Dan Larimer's, well, when he talks, he's always talking about it, what it's going to look like when it's big. Sometimes we look at it, it's just what happened in recent weeks, and that's not the objective. Anyway.
Well, I was just going to leave you with this. I was talking about real life consensus. So I'm coming from a minority standpoint, because it's a very simple consensus here. There's three people, there's assets, and there's bills. So I've thought I knew what people wanted. They wanted to end this, number one, spend as least amount of money cleaning this up and getting some money out of the end of it. So that's a win-win-win. Every party wins and gets some money, but the mindset of the other two parties is not in that same mindset. They only want to, they can't imagine someone else winning. And it's either it's either their way or everyone loses. So that's a big fundamental difference with these meetings as well, because we have to come to consensus to get rewarded, right? It doesn't matter. We were saying, I remember Jason had a nice saying of, we come to consensus and consent. Like, did everyone really want that person to go through? We came to consensus, but was everyone, enthusiastic about that person? At the end, it doesn't matter. It's way more rewarding if there's enthusiasm, that everyone's, not displaced or feeling bad about the ratings. But yeah, it's I don't think I can win in my current endeavors, because I've put something out there that's the easiest path where everyone wins. But I'm realizing they're not playing by that rule set. They're not playing by fractally. They're not playing that, they should be, because they get nothing if we all lose if we don't go this one path. But that's just my own trying to get through what seems like an easy path to consensus, because there's no other way. That's the game. But the ego gets involved, and these guys would rather everyone lose. So it's disheartening. So that's my reality today for this last 2 weeks.
The term is I'd rather be right than win.
But thanks for listening, Marco. I know you've been trying to leave here.
Yeah, I just hear if Eric's got something to say real quick.
No, I just said that the phrase is that I'd rather be right than win.
Well, and it also is it's an adequate reflection of reality, because when a community is divided, like a neighborhood, any size group of people, doesn't matter if it's a group of people of 10 or of 3 or of 10,000 or of 1 million. If that group is thoroughly divided, then they're dysfunctional. And the truth is nobody wins. So, right, it's an adequate governance method, I think.
Well, dysfunction is the real problem, because most decisions aren't made on facts. They're based on stories that are made with bad data, misinterpreted data, thoughts, opinions, fears, concerns. So, and the bigger the organization is, the more stories, it's less about people. And so that's generally what happens.
Well, what else are we going to do, right? The fish has to be in water and the human mind has to be in story. We have a story of ourselves and our purpose and all of it, right? And then we're compelled by the stories.
Well, there's a book that I don't think you can get anymore that says half the people you work with are crazy. And it just talks about how people think differently. And when you're looking at these other people, so like there's people that say, oh, I have an idea. They're very conceptual. Oh, I have an idea. Then there's people that like to turn those ideas into real things. And they go, oh, I have a plan. And here's an idea and here's a plan. Then you have people that are saying, no, we got to run the process. We can't make a mistake. And so the people that are process oriented or action oriented are in direct opposition to those people that are, idea or plan oriented. And the idea and plan people think that the process and QA people are just stick in the muds and never want to do anything and don't solve problems. And the people that are running production, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, think the other people are just out of control. So I can't tell you the number of times that I was called out of control. And then for something that a year later, everybody had adopted. And nobody ever came back and said, oh, we thought you were out of control, but you really weren't. And I wasn't doing crazy stuff. I was just saying, look, here's all these people doing these things you don't know about, but it's common practice among IBM and Google and Microsoft. Look, this is not something that's, oh no, it's risky. We haven't heard about it. It's not risky. They've been using it, just hasn't. Why don't we just use it for this? It'll knock years off. And that, so we would, instead of spending, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars and spending 3 to 5 years, we would use this thing somebody else did, and we would get it done for hundreds or thousands of dollars or $10,000 and get it done in 2 to 6 months. But people were just saying, you're out of control. That's evil. You have to be stopped. That's how people look at everything. So basically half the people you work with are crazy.
I like that. I like that you actually arrived at the way I understand the word, right? The word crazy itself refers to unpredictability and maybe it's just unpredictability. It's like inconsistency. It's an inconsistency that is unpredictable, and that the cause and effect chain in a person's behavior. When a person is crazy, anybody can be crazy.
Yeah, but to me, crazy is the inability to link actions with expected outcomes.
Yes, exactly. Like the cause and effect line.
So based on your perspective, it's like, well, no, that's a reasonable outcome. To somebody else is, oh, that's not a reasonable outcome. That's crazy talk. And so that's the problem, is the ability to see a link between an action and an outcome. Then there's some people that just aren't very realistic. They go, I'm going to join this network marketing company and I should be a millionaire by next week. You see that all the time.
No problem.
If you research, that would be crazy. There's another book, by the way, called there's another book called Yes, Your Teen is Crazy. And it comes to the point that at 13 years old, you get a bunch of new neural pathways that aren't trained. So you're able to perceive concepts, but you don't have it trained. So you think, oh yeah, unprotected sex, what could be the problem with that? Oh, drinking and walking in bad neighborhoods. Oh, nothing bad's going to happen. It's because you don't have that link between reasonable actions and reasonable outcomes. And so because teens' minds aren't trained, they want all the authority and none of the accountability.
That is very clear. That's very interesting. I was not aware that. It makes sense during the growth spurt that there are new neurological pathways that aren't trained.
Well, guess when else it happens? You ever hear the terrible twos?
Sure, of course.
Well, why does that happen? Guess when the first neural network growth spurt is around 2 years old, they go, holy shit. I've just realized the world is bigger. Let me go test it.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, but you don't have the testing to know that, yeah, it's not a good idea to like light a stove and, you know, put paper on it and don't stick your fingers in those things. You know, they don't have that capacity. So with increased capacity without training, there's a problem. And that's part of our technology problems is we suddenly realize that, oh, the metaverse or blockchain, oh, we have this increased capability, but we don't really know what's a logical outcome of it. And so before we train ourselves to go, oh yeah, here's what's good about blockchain, here's what isn't, it's the same problem.
That's fantastic.
But the other part of craziness is insane is believing really bad sources that they tell you what the probable outcome will be.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a word, right? It's just a word. And we understand the word, like it gets used, we use it in context. And it has a definition, but really it can mean whatever it means in context. You just pick up what a person means by it. And yeah, no surprise here, right? People who are ahead of their time tend not to be appreciated in their time. Just because
Well, my wife,
you're ahead
my
of your
wife
time a
calls,
little bit, you know, you're
my
ahead
wife
of your
calls
career.
me, my wife calls me unrealistic all the time. You're not realistic, you're just a dreamer. And I go, yeah, but what about the 20 times I've said that and did it?
Sooner or later, you got to start getting some clout.
Well, I remember I got a master's degree by changing things and everybody said, you're crazy. The university won't do that. And I said, well, yeah, but we can ask. Well, why do you think they'll do it? Well, because of this, that. Then it goes, okay, so was I crazy? When I said it would happen, it happened. And that's what I've done is when you take a different perspective, actually investigating something, talking to people and said, oh, these are actually potentially based on research, realistic outcomes. And everybody else says, oh, they're not realistic because their data set is based on, oh, we've never seen that before. When I first showed up in San Diego was because a system didn't work and I came in to fix it. And when I proposed what I wanted to do, they said we shouldn't do that because it's too risky. So that was perspective. Why was it risky? Is because they hadn't seen it before. And I said, what do you want to do? Well, you know that thing that's failed twice already? We want to do that again. And my argument was, but isn't that more risky? I mean, look, you tried it twice. Why do you think it's going to work this time? And their answer was, well, if we keep banging our head against the wall, we expect the pain will stop. And it's like, but you haven't seen that. And finally, it got to the point where I had everybody in the room and went to a board and I just drew a line. I said success and failure. And I just said, name all the programs that are successes, and people draw names and name all the ones that are failure. And I said, so what do they have in common? All the failures are doing what you want to do. You failed that twice, and everybody you mentioned who's done that has failed. What do the ones have on the other side? They're what I'm recommending to do, and you call them successes. And the only reason I was recommending to do this is because I've been watching other people succeed in it. So why is that? Why is that crazy when I'm just taking what other people are succeeding at?
It isn't. You know it isn't. And unfortunately, those who are ahead of their time get discouraged and face other forms of injustice. It's a regular thing.
So when it comes to reaching consensus, then you have all these different opinions. Well, this is realistic, this isn't. We need an idea to solve this. No, the solution is to come up with a plan. No, the solution is to come up with a process. No, what we need to do is more in-depth research because something may be wrong, and we didn't do analysis paralysis because we don't want to make a mistake, and that's what we need to do. And the biggest successes, first by accident, then I started noticing the pattern of successes involved integrating all those people, where you come up with an idea, you run it through those QA people that like problems, and they say, well, here's what's wrong with it. You go back the idea, oh, here's ideas to fix that. Then you put a plan to come together, and you bring the process people to execute the plan. And when you had the right balance of those people, it worked. But any one of those people who just wanted to put up a brick wall and say, like, I think I've told this story before, the best thing I ever did, I briefed this guy whose nickname was No Go Joe, and I briefed the best thing I've ever done. And he said, well, the first thing to do is stop that. And I said, well, why is that? He said, well, everyone will want it. And what's the problem with that? Well, we don't have the server capacity to do that. And I said, but if they want it and we have them give us money, we can buy more servers. Well, yeah, but then, and he just kept going down that path. Now, eventually we did it. And it ended up being a funded organization that has 100 people in it, and it growing to an organization of 100 people doing just that. But my point is, his first instinct was, well, yeah, there's a problem, let's not do it. So imagine trying to reach consensus with somebody whose whole opinion was, yeah, but Jason, everything you say, I see a problem with. Yeah, but there's a problem.
That's what I've been wrestling with too. That's what I've been wrestling with too, because fractally, like, okay, there are people in crypto who are self-described as contrarian, which means that they practice a politics of belligerence, and they are extraordinarily stubborn people who will intently find a way if there is one to impede the process, to game it to their advantage, to manipulate the outcome, or whatever, you know, like to make it fail, just to make it fail. It's like they think it's somehow a valuable contribution to the space to stress test everything to the point and see, like, can I ruin this system? Right? Is the system perfect or something? So there's going to be that. I know that people are going to get involved in fractally, like kind of like the caricature of your No Go Joe, who are wet blanket on everything, right? And they're not budging. And what are we going to do about that? I don't know.
No Go Joe kept getting promoted because he just didn't take risks, so he didn't make any big advances. So because he didn't have any negatives, they just kept saying, oh, okay, we'll just keep putting him these positions where all this other stuff would get in it. But on the other hand, you know, we had Pete, and I think I told you this story where I briefed him on our plan. He was at headquarters and I briefed him, and he just shit on me for like 10 minutes, nonstop. Everything wrong. Here's problems with anything you do. And I was getting really steamed. And then after he finished his tirade, he said, so how do we move ahead on this? And I went, what? How do we move ahead on this? Well, I thought you didn't like it. He looked at me like you're crazy. Well, why would you think that? I said, well, you just spent 10 minutes beating it up. No, I'm just looking for problems that we'll have to fix. I think this is a great idea. So after that, he became a central part because he would always think of things that we didn't think of, and saved us a lot of time from going down a path. Okay, good point. Let me take that back to the team and figure out what the answer is. So the key is each one of those can just completely destroy a project. You know, somebody you've seen the boss whose idea changes every 2 weeks, every day. Hero, no, we're going this way. No, we're changing. I just came with a better idea. No, my son had a girlfriend like that who you couldn't plan anything because she would be revising the plan and changing it up to the time you were there. It was just while you were there. And I think that's crazy.
I think that's the correct definition for the word crazy, right? Because it's not like in the world of mental health and psychological conditions, there are all kinds of very specific conditions that people have that are not correctly called crazy. It's just not, you know, people have problems, all kinds of problems but calling them crazy is the wrong word, because crazy is its own condition that is absent of all of those other conditions. It's more like a personality characteristic of your boss who has a whole new vision every 2 weeks. That's unpredictable, right?
It drives everybody nuts and nothing gets done. But you have somebody who's looking ahead like that, and like my friend Ali, who's always looking 20 steps ahead and saying, well, let's go here and let's not get stuck there. And it's like, thank God is he sharp. So he, opposite ends. And on the planners, you have planners that plan, then replan. It's like, let's just get it done. So let's just move. Let's just get it done. And then you've got the QA people like Pete and No Go Joe. And then you have the production people. And some production is like, no, I'm not changing. This is how we do it. Yeah, but we're going to need to change. I don't see anybody making me change today. No reason. Let's just keep doing this. And then other people, like my friend Jim, anytime you give him something new, he would get all excited. Oh, I can come up with a process for that. And if you gave him changes, he'd go, oh, I can improve the process. So they were both same types of people, but one made it very successful when you put, Pete with Jim and item plan together, then it worked like a charm. But when you put it with No Go Joe, then all he did was try and kill everything.
Well, it sounds to me like you've got a real good read on human resources as a practice, and that with that cafe, we must have spent 6 months at least workshopping what we were calling the human resources protocol, which was as fair and autonomous a system as we could possibly imagine at the time. Because our goal was to create a gig economy in a physical cafe location where there was like a jobs board popping up in an app that would indicate like, okay, the washroom needs to be cleaned. Who wants to do it this time? It pays $20. And it's like, you don't have a permanent janitor. Whoever is nearby enough to want to take the gig, whoever's qualified. We were looking at a method of qualified sortition for who would do each station at a cafe and a jobs board. And that's what we kind of arrived at. But the human resources protocol is obviously an established and enormous field of professions. And recruiting talent is its own industry, right? Full of professionals. And that I feel as though that's the broad, maybe like a broad definition for a use case for Fractally is its role in a human resources protocol. Where is it applicable? At the stages of a human resources protocol, like maybe even the qualification process pre-sortition. Like if a person wants to sign up to be the barista occasionally and take it like a gig a few hours at a time, then that qualification process can be like a Fractally style interview to show that whatever you are who you say you are, and that you meet the qualifications for that place.
Anyway, I have to go. I've got a meeting to do now.
Excellent. I love the overtime with you guys, and we'll pick it up again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was great.
Thanks for everything you both do.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.